Give it another minute, or are we good? I see people still coming in.
You're good to go now.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It is 9:01 and welcome to the January 9th Connecticut Paid Leave Board of Directors meeting. I am calling the meeting to order. It is actually 9:02 now. Amber, would you kindly take attendance?
Sure, thank you, Fran. Ava Bermuda Zimmerman,
Present.
Isha Canada.
Present.
Good morning, Isha. Adrienne Cochran.
Present.
Okay, I lost my spreadsheet. Bear with me for just a second. There it is. All right, Andrea Comer will not be joining us this morning, and Commissioner Gilman will be joining us a little bit later. She had another commitment this morning. Sheila Hummel.
Present. Good morning.
Good morning, Sheila. Ellen McKitterick.
Present.
Fran Pastore.
Present.
John Scott will not be joining us today. Mike Soltis.
Present.
Molly Weston Williamson will not be joining us today. Holly Williams.
Present.
Janae Woods Weber.
Present.
Good morning, Janae. And Justin Zartman will not be joining us this morning. So we do have a quorum. However, we do not have 2/3 of our voting members. So we would recommend that we table agenda item 3 until Commissioner Gilman has a moment to join us.
Thank you so much, Amber, for that reminder.
Amber,
All
I
right,
don't think you
let's-
called my name.
David, good morning.
I'm so sorry if I missed you. Good morning, David Salazar Austin.
Present.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, thanks, everyone. I would like to ask for a review of the December 12th meeting minutes. Are there any corrections or any items to discuss? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from December 12th?
Motion
Anyone?
to approve the minutes from December 12th.
Thank you, Sheila. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Mike abstains.
Okay, thank you, Mike. And the motion carries then, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay, we're gonna table item 3. So we are going to move to Jessica for the quarterly outreach and engagement update. Jess, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Fran. Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. So I wanted to just give kind of a brief recap of 2024, sort of some of the accomplishments and the metrics, particularly related to our website. As we know, it's now been a full year with the new website and our digital outreach. So at a high level, we participated in 72 in-person events and appearances over the course of the year. We issued 30 press releases and or media advisories. Nancy produced and published 24 paid leave podcast episodes. Amber led the charge in creating 12 paid leave spotlight videos. Nancy and Nicole launched the 5 Minutes of Impact segments in June and have produced 8 of those so far. We were featured in 24 news stories resulting from our press releases and or interviews that Aaron participated on radio and on some of our TV partners. And thanks to Nicole's efforts, we have had 63 meetings with new potential partners, either community organizations, nonprofits. Many of those have already led to some great partnerships, and others we know will come to fruition in the new year. In terms of our website and our digital summary, we had almost 2.4 million sessions on our website, which was up 12% year over year. Our users remained relatively flat, 873,000. That was down just 2%. And our page views were up tremendously to almost 11,000. So 28% increase year over year, which is great. That shows that all the time and effort and thought we put into redoing our website content and creating new pages really is paying off. Most viewed pages, the how to apply a subpage of the claim section was the most visited page. how CT paid leave works, the CT paid leave and FMLA explainer page talking about the difference between the two programs was second, and the I am an employer subpage of for businesses and employers was third. Our top Google keywords, CT paid leave, FMLA, what is Connecticut paid leave, FMLA CT, and Connecticut paid leave business rounded out the top 5. And then for our digital ads which encompassed display, OTT, and CTV, streaming audio, video pre-roll, we delivered over 4 million impressions with 8.54% click-through rate. On the social side, we had over 7 million impressions on Facebook and Instagram. The employer videos were the best performing with click-through rates anywhere between 2.3 and 4.3%. And just to give perspective to that, what's considered a good click-through for this channel is between 2 and 5%. So we're right there, which is great. TikTok, 4.5 million impressions. This is where we use that UGC, user-generated content, that I've shared in previous meetings. And the majority of those videos averaged anywhere from 1 to 3.76%. And what's considered good for TikTok is anything over 1. So the audience on that platform is really resonating with those videos. LinkedIn, 784,000 impressions, a 0.89% click-through. And good for this channel is between 0.5 and 1. And then lastly, YouTube, we had 930,000 views, which was up 34% year over year. We published 95 videos. And then the content is organized into playlists just to make it easier for visitors to find what they're looking for. So the top playlists, the Paid Leave Podcast, the Paid Leave Spotlight, and then our testimonials. In terms of our traditional media, we were on 28 radio stations blanketing the state from corner to corner, both English and Spanish language. Television encompassed WFSB, WTNH, Fox 61 for the English channels, and then Telemundo, Univision, and Unimas for the Spanish. Our billboards, which I know many people see because I continue to hear comments about it, are on major highways throughout the state, and our boards were shown over 2 million times over the course of the year. And lastly, for print, we had ads in 4 different publications that are targeted to speakers of other languages as their primary language. And we also published 12 articles that the authority authored on various aspects of the program. So we did a lot last year. I tried to really condense it into just a couple of slides, but we are excited about 2025. We have a lot of new initiatives, which you'll be hearing about in the upcoming months. Just to give you a picture of what's coming up just in these next several weeks, we will be at the SBA Resource Fair in Torrington next week. Later this month, we've been invited to participate in the 2025 Farm Managers Summit. And we've been asked to participate in breakout sessions with partners, other state partners, including DOL, Access Health, and MyCT Savings to talk about legal obligations for employers. On February 10th, Erin's going to appear on WFSB's Great Day program again, where she'll be able to amplify the great message that we have reached $1 billion in benefits. On the 25th of February, we'll be at the CBIA Human Resources Conference. Also in February, date is still being worked on, but Erin will also appear on CT Buzz on WTNH. And then lastly, in March, we will be at the SojiCon True Colors Conference at UConn Stores, which is a conference for LGBTQ youth and allies. So we're starting off the year strong, and this is just the beginning. There will be quite a lot more coming your way soon. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments for Jess?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say that's a great report to get this kind of information, to know, how the marketing and other efforts are working is really good. So it's a great job.
Thank you.
I'll echo those sentiments of Adrian. Thank you so much, Jess. Okay, next we're moving along.
Brian, actually, thank you to Michael. It's always good to have a general counsel who is good at math. We actually do have enough to go back to item 3. So we
Okay.
can do that.
All right, wonderful. Michael, then you are up. We are going to have a discussion and a vote on the proposed revisions to the private plan policies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fran. And you want to know how long we were going back and forth over what 2/3 of 13 was. It took us far too long. We should have pulled in finance for that conversation. Really quickly, I'll go over the policies. The board may remember back in November, you guys had voted to post the private plan policies and procedures revisions for public comment. That comment period officially closed at the end of December. The primary purpose of those changes was to make sure that our policies were in line with the new statute. Essentially, the expansion of safe leave was the most important part of that. However, we also took that opportunity to make a couple other adjustments, including adding a little more flexibility for employers to notify us that they want to return to the public program, as well as some cleanup of some of the language. So not really controversial changes to the policies. We did have 2 edits from the posted comments that were the result of things we heard during the comment period. Neither of them substantive, just really about clarity. So in one of them, we had put a requirement for employers to notify their employees if they are returning to the public program, making sure they are aware of that return and that where they need to file a claim depending on what date. We just added the word date based on a suggestion from the public to make it clear what we meant by termination. So after the date of the termination of the private plan, they can come and file their claim with AFLAC. The second change, another one non-substantive, as far as the amount of contributions that employees can have towards the private plan, it's the same as the public program, although they can offer less if they would like and withhold less from employees. We were sort of just missing language in that sentence. We didn't say what we meant by 1/2 of 1%, so we just added in language to say of their earnings to make it clear what we meant by 1/2 of 1%. So as I said, nothing too substantive, both minor wordsmithing changes. Other than that, the revisions are the same that the board saw in November. Ultimately, the goal today would be to have the board vote to officially adopt those revisions to our policies. However, before that occurs, I am happy to take any questions the board may have.
Thank you, Michael. Do we have any questions for Michael? All right, I think we're good to move to a vote. May I have a motion to adopt the proposed revisions to the private plan policies and procedures?
So moved.
Mike, thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Holly, thank you. Thanks, everyone, actually. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, excellent. The motion carries.
Here.
We are going to move right along. Thank you, Michael. We are going to move right along to the discussion and another vote on the proposed budget for the 2025 Family Expo. And that's Nicole.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Can I share my screen, Amber? It says that.
I'm working on it, right?
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, you're all set.
Thank you. All right. Can everyone just see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so thank you all for this opportunity to present to you and propose our first ever agency family expo. So it's our first ever event. So today we're going to go through a project plan that we've kind of put together and hopefully get your thoughts and feedback on it and then move for a vote. So the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why, right? So we are hoping to sponsor a family expo that's open to parents and families throughout our state. And for our first event ever, we're striving for about 100 to 200 attendees in total throughout the course of the day. So that would be folks coming in, participating, vendors, staff. So it really encompasses everyone that would be part of that, making that day so special. We're leaning towards having the event in Hartford on a Saturday in October of this year. And we've put together 3 main goals for this event. The first one would be to educate and to teach stakeholders about our program. So really get our name out there and build top of mind awareness for stakeholders. We also want to continue building on our relationships. So building, cultivating, strengthening new and existing symbiotic relationships with our partners, other nonprofits, and other state agencies by providing them a space for them to share their own resources in a type of like resource fair type of thing. You know, we've been a part of so many incredible resource fairs and other events where we've been able to share our materials out to the communities that we serve. And so this is a great way for us to start providing the same space for our partners. And finally, we want to continue to build community and become trusted messengers ourselves by providing a space for families and our partners to feel welcomed and supported. I'll pass it over to Jess to talk a little bit about our marketing plan.
Thanks, Nicole. So in terms of marketing and promotion, we obviously want to make sure that we have a good presence so that we can inform people of this event. So what we're thinking of doing is a dedicated digital campaign targeting families with young children and expectant parents, and that would include search, display, and social. So that would be its own dedicated campaign. Then with our sort of normal advertising buys in the Hartford market, we would reallocate a portion of those particular ads in TV, radio, print, and outdoor to promoting this event. We would also work with our media partners and ask them to include us in their event calendars, newsletters, public service announcements, etc. We would plan to use targeted family activity websites. Some are Mommy Poppins, Kidtivity.com, and Macaroni Kid. And there we can do display ads, newsletter inclusion, and event inclusion. And these are definitely sites that parents of young children are always scouring to look for things to do on the weekends to keep the little ones busy. We would design and print handouts and ask our exhibitors and partners to distribute them, as well as using our community education coordinators who are just beginning their work for that program, and ask them to help promote this event as well. And then, of course, make use of free event platforms like Eventbrite as well. So we think that this plan will leverage the relationships and some of the resources we already have, as well as allow us to integrate some new ones in order to get some good promotion for the event.
Thank you, Jess. So just some additional details of basically what we're envisioning for this day. So we've broken it down for parents and then for children. So for parents, we obviously want to have like a resource fair type of thing where vendors, including state agencies, local nonprofits, health providers, and small businesses that are focused on family, children, and family resources could be giving out, you know, materials and their information out to families. We also were thinking of like having kind of like a passport initiative, which would make it an incentive to visit every vendor. So as parents are coming in, checking in with us and getting all the goodies, they would then get a passport. And so that would just be an incentive for them to visit every vendor at the resource fair and get kind of like a stamped or whatever the case may be. So at the end of it, we've kind of started brainstorming partnerships with organizations to provide some sort of raffle for parents who completely fill their passports. So that's another idea for how to, again, keep folks engaged during the course of the day. We've also discussed potentially working with the Rotary Club to issue Amber Alert ID cards for children, so parents can have those handy. That's a very valuable resource. And we would obviously be providing our own goodie bags and our own merchandise. And so we'd be giving our goodie bags to parents as they check in and sign in with us. And we're also discussing ways to have food options on site for individual purchase. So those are just some ideas that we have been kind of circulating regarding how to keep parents engaged and bringing them into this event. And then now for children, we are hoping to ask every vendor to bring something fun to give the children that stop by their tables with their parents. So this could be like candies or stickers. You know, since ideally this would be in October, we're really trying to hone in on like the Halloween theme for the kids. So Halloween themed crafts or activity stations are another idea that we have circulated. So we hope to partner with CREC and or the Hartford Public School System to give the chance for older students to volunteer and help run those stations with the younger kids. So again, it could be like through Connecticut paid leave drawing pages, right? Coloring pages, and have our logo just everywhere, but make it fun for the kids to really explore their creativity. We also are thinking of doing a Touch a Truck event with the Hartford Fire Department and the Police Department. And children would be encouraged to wear Halloween costumes, of course. We are thinking of doing like a Polaroid camera photo booth with, again, some fun props and doing some face painting and balloon twisting. So working with some vendors to provide that entertainment for kids as well. So here's just a rough timeline that we've discussed on how to make this really come to life. So of course we're in January, so the start of the year. Today we're presenting to all of you to hopefully get your thoughts, your feedbacks, your opinions, and then move forward towards a vote. We then would decide on finalizing a date and a venue to host the event by the end of this month. Moving into February, we decide on our main vendors by the end of February. So this would include signing contracts with them, paying deposits, moving forward with all of those like little details. And then towards the spring, we'd move to organizational outreach to partners. So those would be the folks, the vendors that would be sitting in on the resource fair and also be sponsors of the event. And then moving into the summer, we would continue to promote that organizational outreach for folks that are perhaps part of the resource fair or sponsors, but also maybe just folks that want to like start communicating this out with their teams, their staff, the communities that they serve. And with that, our marketing and promotion plan will begin. And then moving into the fall, registration for attendees will begin in like late August and will be ongoing. So it's not so far away from our event date, but also it gives enough time for families to start thinking as the school year starts, right? Start thinking about what their fall schedules look like. And then, of course, creating a final outline for the day and confirming our details and the duties for day of amongst staff, volunteers, and everyone who plays a role in creating this day and making it successful. And finally, for today, we'd like to propose a budget. So we have really done our due diligence in meeting with vendors and having discussions and getting preliminary quotes to put together a budget for you all. And so when looking at our venue, we estimate $1,500 for a cost. For decorations, $550. Entertainment, as you can see, the entertainment is in yellow, and so it would include face painting for $550, balloon twisting for another $550, and then craft supplies and miscellaneous things, which might include like the Polaroid booths, props, right? That would include that would be $2,000. And then, of course, our advertising, marketing, promotion, and promotional material and plan would be $10,000. And then a contingency plan, of course, for $1,515. So that brings us to a total of $16,665 for this event. Again, I just want to say thank you to all of you for giving us the opportunity to present this to you. And we would love to hear your thoughts and feedback on this. And also just a special shout out to the Outreach and Engagement Committee for being so supportive and also giving just ongoing feedback for this process as well. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen and open it up for questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Jess. Very exciting. Great ideas. Do you have any comments?
So I have a few comments, Fran. So this budget, is this money already included in the outreach and engagement money budget, or is this something in addition that you're asking us to vote on?
May I answer that?
Sure.
Please do.
Okay. Okay, we do have the money in the budget, Mike. It wasn't explicitly identified at the time we did the budget, obviously months ago, but the budget, the outreach budget will allow for it. And in fact, the total budget for the authority will allow for it as well.
Okay, thanks. My next question is, have you considered someplace more centrally, if the goal is to reach statewide, have you considered someplace more accessible statewide as opposed to Hartford, which I suspect you're going to draw the greater Hartford area and a smattering of people from the rest of the state?
Good point.
I think that we are open to different venues, but what we were hoping to do is kind of launch this as our first one in the Hartford area, see the response, right? Sort of figure out things we can do to improve in the future. And then if it is successful, which I know it will be, then move this to different areas of the state so that annually we are hitting different areas. That's not to say that we couldn't consider, Middletown as an area. But I think our initial thought was let's start in the Hartford area and then let's sort of take it on the road for future events.
I think that's a good plan, Jessica, because even if you have it in Middletown, you probably wouldn't get people from Stamford, Bridgeport. So I think start in Hartford and then kind of, rotate statewide. Like maybe do one in southeastern Connecticut, like New London. Then maybe Bridgeport or New Haven or someplace like that. But no, I think it's a good start.
Yeah, so I had some of the same questions that I wanted to ask too about logistics or frequency, I guess. So this is a pilot in Hartford, but you're thinking annually.
Yes, we also have talked about, again, wanting to use this first one to sort of flush out improvements in the future, but we've also talked, about how could we extend this to different audiences. So is there the possibility of doing something for the aging community and caregivers in the future? But again, we need to walk before we run. So wanting to use this as our initial one, and then expand upon it both geographically and perhaps to different audiences.
And Jess, in terms of a location, I saw that the number I thought was pretty low. Do you have any preliminary ideas?
Nicole has been doing a great job of talking to different venues. So we've looked at different public spaces, we've looked at private spaces that we can rent out. We have a couple of, go ahead, Erin.
Yeah, so at my request, the team is not identifying specific locations before the board approves because they don't want to create misinformation out there or say that something's happening when we don't have a contract. But we have been prioritizing public spaces, which already have organic traffic on weekends that we could build upon, as well as getting people who come specifically for us, trying to find locations that are already easily accessible to people that have good parking or are, again, are sort of where people would normally go, rather than trying to pull people into, a place that would otherwise be very vacant on a Saturday morning, in the hopes that they would come to us. So that's why it's a little bit lower. Than
Understood, yeah. No, that's very positive. That's good to hear. Anybody else have any questions?
Can I ask one more question? Last one.
Sure.
I saw in the presentation, thank you, Nicole, it's very good, the word sponsor. And I'm just curious, are sponsors going to be, you could often get sponsors to pay to participate in these programs. For example, I think about childcare facilities, right? So is the idea that the sponsors will contribute to the cost of this, or what does that sponsor word mean?
So while we always welcome people providing gifts to the state, which is a technical term in the Code of Ethics, where entities can provide money that helps support state events, we're not counting on that. So we are looking at what we can do on our own. So, we're open to entities that want to fund something, but right now we're trying to figure out what we can do on our own and just have the vendors, at a minimum, have vendors who can, carry their own way. We don't anticipate paying for any of the tabling. We may need to pay for entertainment unless we can get someone to sponsor a face painter or something of that effect.
Okay. So having paying sponsors is a great way to put on a
It is.
a meeting like this.
We just want to make sure that what we are envisioning, we can actually achieve, even if we don't get sponsors. And then a sponsor or more would be icing on the cake. It can help us expand.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, excellent. Anybody else? Thank you, Mike and Sheila. Anyone else? Nicole, thank you for your presentation. Well done. All right, so we want to take a vote. And I'm going to be looking for a motion to adopt the proposed budget for the 2025 first ever Family Expo presented by Connecticut Paid Leave.
So moved.
May I have a,
Adrian?
thank you. Thank you, Adrian. May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion carries. Thanks, everyone. It'll be so exciting to see how this goes. So I'm excited about it. Thank you. Okay. We are moving on to the committee reports. Maddie, you are up.
Great.
Oh, Mike, I'm sorry. No, the legislative update, I missed that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. You are
I
up.
think I'm next,
legislative.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Good morning, everyone. I just have a very brief government relations update to share. Next. So first, the 2025 legislative session began yesterday, and since it's a long session, it will end on Wednesday, June 4th. While we did not put forward a legislative proposal of our own this year, we do plan to continue to monitor bills closely, really maintain a presence at the Capitol, and we are prepared to act on anything introduced that could impact our program as a whole or our day-to-day operations. We've also conducted outreach to each caucus in the House and the Senate to host a briefing for their members on the status of our program and ways that we can collaborate. So far, we've hosted briefings for the House Democrats staff, as well as the Senate Democrats, their members, and their staff as well. Our additional outreach is pending, and we're really hopeful that we'll be able to schedule more briefings in the coming weeks. This year, we're also planning to continue to send our monthly legislative newsletter. It includes updates, recent news, and upcoming events. The first newsletter of 2025 is scheduled for early next week. I also have a few updates on the federal level to share. The House Bipartisan Paid Leave Working Group was created in early 2023. Since then, we've followed its work closely throughout the last few years. When solicited, we've submitted feedback from time to time to the group as a way to ensure Connecticut's program is represented in discussions about the creation of a national policy. Before the holidays, the working group released 2 discussion drafts of legislation. The first draft is the Paid Family Leave Public-Private Partnerships Act, which would establish a grant program as an incentive for states to establish their own paid leave programs using a public-private partnership model. The second draft is the Interstate Paid Leave Action Network Act, or IPLAN, that would essentially create a way for states to better coordinate their paid leave programs. I'm emphasizing that these are both drafts. They're not legislation that's been introduced yet to Congress, and in some places they're short on specific details of like how it all might work. That's why I am also short on specific details this morning. But the working group is soliciting feedback on both drafts by tomorrow, January 10th. We are planning to submit feedback, and we'll use our comments to highlight key features of Connecticut's program and how we operate. Our goal, again, with submitting this feedback is to really open the door for additional conversations and be part of the process and able to inform next steps in language that could potentially end up in final legislation if that's what happens next. So that's all I have for my update. That was brief, but yeah.
Thank you, Maddie. Well done. Any questions for Maddie? Any comments for Maddie? Okay, thank you so much, Maddie.
Maddie,
Let's
you
move on to-
wanna stop sharing your screen.
Oh, yes, please. I was admiring it, actually.
It is a nice picture.
All right, we're gonna move on to the committee reports. Mike, would you please provide the policy and personnel report?
Yes. Okay, our committee did meet this month. We discussed 3 issues. One is the proposed revisions to the private plan policies and procedures, which we just voted on today. The other is we received a report on the policy priorities, policy priorities for 2025, which ones are going to be reviewed. And we also discussed and voted on the frequency of meetings for 2025. And that was the extent of our agenda.
Thank you, Mike. Molly, outreach and engagement?
So Molly's not here, but I can report that Outreach and Engagement did meet last month, primarily talking about the expo and providing feedback to our team about suggestions. And in addition to that, Jess provided a preview of the update that she gave to the full board.
Great, thank you. Holly, finance and audit?
Yes, so the committee met last month and we received an update on the actuarial report. We also had a discussion regarding the frequency of committee meetings as well. And we reviewed the regularly reported financial reports, which Dave is going to share with the board today.
Thank you, Holly, and good morning again, everybody. We are going to go over the results for the month of November and a preview of December and a projection at the end, as we usually do. Overall statement, none of the trends have really changed that we've been discussing over the past few months. For the month of November, the authority did have a positive variance of $215,000. Its operating expenses for the month were $1.5 million. That's a little higher than usual because we had 3 payrolls instead of 2. And that's also why there is a negative variance, because we'd only budgeted 2 payrolls in the month of November. But that will correct itself in the month of December, because that's when we budgeted the 3 payrolls. So short story is it was just a timing difference. Year to date, the authority's activity is almost $4.6 million, and that is just under $2 million better than budget for its operating budget. Moving on to bond money, the authority spent $122,000 on its continued fund recovery work. That was just a little over budget, and year to date, we've spent $521,000. That's also just a little over budget as well. The available bond money for the authority is just over $1.8 million, and we'll be continuing to use that money as the fiscal year goes on. Moving on to contributions, our net activity for the month was just under a negative $42.3 million. That is almost a $6.5 million negative variance. As we've been reporting, the main contributor to that is the benefits paid for the month. The benefits that were paid for the month were $43.6 million. We did reimburse Aflac for 5 weeks during the month of November, and that averaged to $8.7 million a week. So we did see an increase through the end of November. Contribution activity for the month was $464,000. That was slightly ahead of budget. And our fund recovery activity continues to exceed expectations as well. Year to date, our activity is $33.8 million. That is a $21.8 million negative variance. Again, the biggest driver of that is more than anticipated use in the benefit payments than we had budgeted about 9-10 months ago. But we did incorporate that increased activity in the forecast that I'll be showing you shortly. The balance in the contribution fund is just under $600 million. So we are still solvent, as the governor pointed out yesterday in his comments. So we continue to be in a good fiscal place. For the month of December, just a quick preview, our operating expenses was just over $1 million, nothing out of the ordinary there. Our benefits paid for the month of December were $34.1 million. That averages out to $8.5 million a week. So our average run rate weekly did decrease in December, but that's not unexpected because of the holiday season. And we've seen that happen in the past couple of years, where it'll decrease during the month of December, going into January, and then by the end of January, it will increase again. Contributions for the month were almost $1.2 million. And our interest for the month was just under $2.3 million. So again, that's the usual, not much change happening there. For where we think we'll be by the end of the year, in terms of our operating account, we expect to be $5.8 million of net activity. That's $3.9 million better than budget. Again, the two biggest main reasons of that are a pension rate for our payroll that was lower than what we budgeted. So that's creating a positive variance. And the money that we have budgeted for IT consultant work, we had the money available in our bond funds, and it was able to be, and it qualified to be able to be used in our bond funds. So we're using up the bond fund money first before we use it in our operating account. And in terms of our contribution activity, our expected activity by the end of the year is expected to be $8.4 million. That is almost $54.7 million less than what we budgeted. But having said that, it is still a positive variance by the end of the year. And what does that mean for the fund balance at the end of the year? That's expected to be around $575 million. So again, the fund will still expected to be solvent by the end of the fiscal year. So no concerns at that time. That's what's happening fiscally at the authority. I'm more than happy to take any questions at this time.
Mike, thank you. Dave,
Yes,
thank you.
Thank
you.
You're welcome, Fran. Thank you.
Look right at your face every single time.
That's all right. David Salazar, Austin, and I will be forming a support group at the end of the meeting.
Anybody have any questions for Dave? Okay, thank you so much. Erin, your CEO report.
Thank you, Fran. So 2025 is going to continue to be a year for continuous process improvement within the authority, both in terms of our activities and in terms of making sure that our staffing levels are appropriate and that we have built-in resiliency. As we've talked about, we have great plans for outreach. We've continuing to work on fund recovery. We are always looking at ways to improve the claim processing. We are analyzing ways that we can continue to support and increase the support we provide on the registration process and just generally the support we provide to employers, including with our team, our partnership with United Way. As Maddie mentioned, we're continuing to work on building our national profile through various informal and more formal means. The Claims Administration RFP resulted in several responses that we received in mid-December. The RFP team has been working diligently to review all of those very, very, very detailed responses. And we'll be coming back to the board in a bit with recommendations. I don't expect to do that probably until March, just because of the way this process works. So we've got a lot going on, but we really continue to have our focus be making sure that the program continues to provide the information and services that the workers and employers of Connecticut needs, and to make sure that as we grow, we continue to kind of check back in and look at decisions we made early on and make sure that those are still the right decisions, and check back in on processes we established early on to make sure that those are still the right processes. So again, continuous process improvement. So that's the big picture. Switching dramatically to the smaller lens, a couple of reminders. We did ask everybody on the board to complete the ethics training offered by the Office of State Ethics. It is online training. Happy to share the link again. We know that you've all received the ethics training before and you've received the code of ethics, but it is a good reminder. We at the authority take those trainings every year, and we think it's a good idea for you to as well. I think each committee mentioned that they voted on their committee schedules. So just for everyone's awareness, Finance and Audit voted to maintain a monthly schedule for their meetings. What are we calling it? Personnel and Policy and Personnel Committee and Outreach and Engagement each voted to go to a bi-monthly schedule. So they met in January, they will meet again in March, and they're so on and so forth. So we've already updated the meeting invites and the notice to the Secretary of State, but just wanted to report that to all of you as well. Happy to take any questions. We can move right along.
Erin, thank you. Okay, so we are going to, in a moment, move into, I'm going to ask you for a motion to move into an executive session. And the purpose of going into the executive session is to enable the board to discuss its annual evaluation of our CEO, Erin Choquette. So before I ask for a motion, I'm going to offer some instructions. We need an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the voting members present to go into the executive session. When you go into the executive session, you must leave the Zoom meeting and you'll use the Teams link that Stephanie very kindly just resent a few moments ago. The Zoom link will remain open and we will return to the Zoom link when we leave the executive session. During executive session, we will not be voting. When it's over, you're going to close your Zoom link. We've done this before, and we're going to go back to we're going to close the Teams link and go back to the Zoom's link. Okay? So now I will ask for a motion for the board to enter into the executive session pursuant to CGS 1-206A. A discussion concerning the appointment, employment, and performance evaluation, health or dismissal of a public officer or employee. We need an affirmative vote of 2/3 of our members. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Perfect. The motion carries. It is 9:51. We will now go into the Zoom link.
Just as a note, at 10 o'clock, the governor has asked everyone to take a 1-minute moment of silence. So I know you'll be doing that in the Teams link.
I have a timer ready.
Great. We'll see you in a bit.
Steph, you can go into slideshow. And from beginning. And would you please X out of the executive session notification you have there on your desktop? Thank you. Looks like we're waiting for a couple more folks to come back.
Thank you.
Hey, Fran.
Yes, Sheila, you gotta jump off.
Yeah, no, but I'm in my car now, so I'm
Oh, okay, awesome.
okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to multitask today.
Yes, yes, as usual, Sheila, I know.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, you know, you can relate.
absolutely.
Just be safe.
Yes, be safe.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll try to call the vote really quickly. As soon as everybody's on. Amber, just let me know, please.
And I think we're all set. We have everybody back.
Okay. All right, I am going to ask for a motion to authorize a 3% salary, annual salary increase for our CEO, Aaron Shaquette. May I have a motion to approve?
May I move to amend that just to clarify that it's effective January 1, 2020?
Thank you, Mike. Do I restate that? Do I restate that now?
Yeah.
Thank you. May I have a motion to authorize a 3% salary increase for the CEO of Connecticut Paid Leave effective January 1?
So moved with the amendment.
Thank you. All in favor?
Oops, I need a
Seconded.
second.
I'm sorry, may I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Thanks, Ava. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you so much. The motion carries. And we did our moment of silence while we were in executive session, just to let everybody know. I hope you guys did too. Do we have any old business to discuss? Do we have any new business? All right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Yeah, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion carries. Thank you, everyone. The time is 10:20. We get 40 minutes back in our day, and thank you for the robust conversation and discussion. Happy New Year.
Happy
Thank
New
you.
Year.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Happy New
everyone.
Year.
Thank you.